It's a nice car, this, but to best appreciate it, you have to look at it in context, and that is as a big French luxury car. Now we know that French cars have for a long time always been softly riding, and the luxury end have always been lavishly trimmed. And that's partly because the roads in France are terrible. And so this idea was to isolate the passenger from the road in the most comfortable way possible. And this is Renault's interpretation of a French luxury car for the 1980s. It is an aerodynamic shape. This one is particularly very brown, but there are some interesting design details like the hatchback rear. It's got a curved tail-like glass and looks pretty good. The front nose is very kind of pointed. It's got a low front spoiler designed to cut through the air efficiently. It's front-wheel drive, straight 4 engine. You could get a V6. It's quite wide. It's wider than the Scorpio, the Granada Scorpio, wider than a 124, but considerably smaller than an S-Class and actually a little bit shorter than its rivals. Inside, though, things get a bit more interesting. And in the back you notice how much effort has been actually paid to the interior. Take this door card, for example. It's trimmed in leather and fabric, but all of it's designed. I mean, just little touches like on the window handle and the patterned fabric, and then there's soft carpet on the side as well. The seats are your standard 80s roost leather, but the seats themselves are really soft, very comfortable, and you can properly lean back. The question is though, what's it like on the move? It's very comfortable in the back, and there's a real sense of width in the car. Ride quality is really good too, especially at high speed, like above 40 miles an hour. Getting this real long-legged feel, and it just kind of wafts over the road. Seated position is excellent here. I mean, I can lean back. Headrest is a bit low. What about at the front though? Now up front, the driving position is slightly less comfortable, and it's difficult to work out why actually until you realise that the rear seat section is just too short. Look, my shoulders, I mean, I'm not the biggest person in the world, and that just causes all sorts of havoc for the front. See, my knees are touching the steering column. You know, I've tried all sorts of different positions and it's just not easy. There's no adjustment on the steering column either. So that's a complaint, and it actually does start to upset what is otherwise a really good long-distance cruising capability of this car. You just about managed to find a position where you're happy. I think I am actually too close. I need to go back a peg. Anyway, it's good long distance because it's aerodynamic and it's got a fuel-efficient-ish, fuel-injected engine. So 30-40 miles to the gallon is pretty feasible. And it's pretty quiet too. And with that ride quality, it just eats up the miles. There's one problem with that. Gearing is a bit too short. At 70, you're nearly at 3,500 RPM. Considering it's got a 5-speed gearbox, 5 just seems like a 4th overdrive. Now the gear change itself is actually pretty light and pretty natural. You get a nice little action here with your arm rested. You just throw it into gear. Now, another thing to mention, and that helps the economy and the handling, is that it weighs so little. I can believe actually when I saw it that the curb weight was 1,160 kilos. That's barely more than my Focus, if you remember. Now, then you consider that 120 horsepower from its 2 litre isn't actually that small an amount because it weighs so little, and yeah, 0 to 60, 10 and a bit seconds. Torque figure is 120 odd foot-pounds, and it's quite high up really, 4,500 RPM is its peak. But again, this lack of inertia means that you can drive it between 1,500 and 2,500 RPM. So combined with the gear change, it is really a relaxed place well, relaxed thing to drive. And you don't really necessarily feel the need for the auto. And just before you have any thought of the auto, let me tell you, it's a 3-speed, they self-destruct, and also that version is 103 brake horsepower, so forget it. Handling wise, well, lack of weight, and actually you may think it rolls, which it does, but once you pitch it in, it has a remarkable amount of control. It's got anti-roll bars front and rear, and negative offset geometry at the front, so it's actually pretty controlled. You can really place it accurately, and the steering is 2.7 turns lock to lock. So before you know, you can really cover ground very quickly and trouble Nissan Notes in front of you, which we are hopefully now about to overtake. Although he's just going to be, say, this is where having the V6 turbo would be very useful, because I'm foot down, 5,000 at red lines at 5,500 in third. It gets by, but it's by no means a quick vehicle all out. It's more of a fast ground coverer. So overall, Renault 25 is a pretty cool thing. I think it looks quite cool, and inside, I mean, there's just so much design flair that it keeps you interested and fascinated. And actually a lot of it works as well, like the air vents are mad, but there's loads of airflow through, even on fan position 2 or whatever. And the door pockets are massive. You can fit a bottle of water, sunglasses, your wallet, and more. Little things like the headlights that twist with the stalk may not be as well built as a Mercedes, but kind of cool in themselves. The driving experience, well, again, just like a Mercedes, it kind of lulls you into a relaxed style, but it's slightly different. Whereas in a Mercedes, you drive in a stately manner. In the Renault, you just kind of chill out that little bit more. And arguably, you could say it's even more relaxing for that. But then there's this other side of it, that this handling is really quite surprisingly good. And there's a delicacy there, and there's feel through the chassis and the controls. Yeah, it's really quite nice. As an overall package, I think it really does deserve some appreciation, and well, I've certainly enjoyed driving it about for the last year or so. A proper big French luxury car, I think done very well indeed.